Hi, how you guys doing?
Oh,
Fine.
we're recovering from that last call.
To bring us down,
I was
Shane.
listening. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people think the same way he does, so that is unfortunate. But my question for you guys today is, I'm actually recently out as an agnostic atheist to my close friends and family, and I have a son. He's only 5 months old right now, but I was asking for some advice about raising him in a household without religion. Now, I know some religious people would look at me and say I'm going to raise him to be an atheist, where it's on the contrary, I'm going to raise my son to be a free thinker, which I don't think a lot of religious people would understand. Now, something that has always been important in my family, and I was indoctrinated with a religion growing up, which I really appreciate from my mother. She allowed me to choose what I believe. However, Christmas was always something we celebrated, and Halloween, and things like holidays like that. But I was wondering about maybe some of the things, because I know you both have kids. So, how are some of the things that religious people have said to you? How have you? What have you said to them? If I don't know if you guys celebrate holidays like that.
Well, first of all, I wanted to let you know that on the Atheist Experience blog, I've written a couple of posts that specifically deal with a lot of issues for atheist parents. So I think if you just Google Atheist Experience and Raising Atheists is the title of the post. There's a part 1 and a part 2. You can find those. But specifically, you were asking about how to deal with holidays or what?
Right, because Christmas is still something that I want to celebrate, not as a Christian religion, not as a religious thing, but something, because I've always found it special because of the togetherness it brings with my family, and just the act of giving, and we have taken the Christ out of Christmas, which Christians are always afraid of. But I still want to celebrate these holidays, and I don't know if you guys do.
Yeah, I do. I celebrate Christmas and
I don't.
Thanksgiving.
Have you ever had any religious people talk down to you for that?
I haven't personally. I mean, we've had snide comments from time to time about if you're atheist, why do you celebrate Christmas, or something like that. But I mean, if you look at what Christmas is all about, if you took out all
capitalism.
of the exactly, if you took out all the commercialism.
Yeah.
And just left the religious part of the holiday in there, you'd have almost nothing left.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and for us, in my family, we celebrate it as just an opportunity to exchange gifts and have friends and family over for a meal, and it's just a fun time of year.
Yeah, the Puritans hated Christmas.
Yeah.
In fact, you could be punished for celebrating it. So in a way, you could look at celebrating Christmas as an act of defiance against Christianity.
Yeah, and the Jehovah's Witnesses don't
celebrate
celebrate
they don't
Christmas.
Like it. You're free to take or leave any part of the tradition. Personally, I was raised in a Jewish atheist environment, and so not only do I not celebrate Christmas, but I don't really have anything to miss. I mean, my parents brought me the presents, and they said, here's your present that we brought you. And I never believed in Santa Claus, and I didn't raise my son believing in Santa Claus. And we'd go to the mall once in a while and say, hey, look at the dude in the suit. But and the biggest problem that caused was that he was well aware that there was no Santa Claus way before most parents want their kids to know, and little kids have a big mouth. So I had to tell him, look, Ben, this is a game that parents play on their kids, and now that you're in on the joke, so you're not supposed to spoil it for anyone.
Yeah, I've had parents and other people approach me with the same thing, that don't let your son tell the other kids that there's no Santa Claus yet, because we're not ready for them to know. And so I've had to have this conversation with him.
But I don't have a moral objection really to lying to your kids. I just decided not to do it. So if you want to tell stories about Santa Claus, be prepared for some awkward conversations later, but more power to you. You can take or leave whatever aspects of the holiday you want. You can celebrate Festivus a la Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Okay.
whatever.
There's a book called Parenting Beyond Belief that you might want to check out.
Okay.
And there's also a blog on that too.
Right.
So
Well, I really appreciate you guys' time. I know you guys have a lot of callers. I'm definitely going to check out the blog and that book. And thank you so much. And I really, appreciate everything that the Atheist Experience is doing for all the viewers. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Won't you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes?
In
Uvalde.
somewhere in Texas.
Yeah, Uvalde.
I don't know how to pronounce that. Jim, are you there?
Hi, Jim.
Yes, how y'all doing?
Hi, how
Good.
are you?
Are y'all able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is my first time calling in. I've been listening to y'all for almost a year now, and I'll tell you what, y'all do a wonderful job. It's broadened my perspective on things. But anyways, a little background on myself. I grew up as a Mormon in the Mormon church. That's how I was brought up. And until later on in my adult life, I kind of slowly just drifted away from it. And then it wasn't until probably about 5 years ago, after I got married, that I really started to pay attention to my supposed beliefs. And slowly over time, just as I studied and did my research and all that, I discovered that what I was believing in was not rational. But my wife is a believer. Her whole entire family are believers. In fact, some of them are actually ministers. One of them studying to become a minister. And then, of course, my side of the family all being Mormons. So this has been a real difficult situation or dilemma for me. I have not come out to my side of the family. I tried talking to my dad about it a little bit. I don't know if he really fully understood what I was getting at, and the rest of them haven't told. Now my wife knows, and I think some of them in her family have an idea, but I'm just not really sure how to go about this.
How does your wife feel about it? I think that's more than anything your parents might have to say, like the most important question right now.
Well, at first it kind of bothered her, and then now she's grown to accept it and allow me to, believe how I believe, and we don't get into any religious discussions, and her family for the most part has stopped saying, having any kind of religious, conversations around me. So I think they have an idea, but I'm not real big on going through life, living a lie. I don't think I can continue to have get-togethers with my family and still sit there and pretend that I'm bowing my head, during prayers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can tell you some of the ways I have handled that with my family, because my father was very religious. My stepmother is still very religious. My father was actually, before his death, he was actually preparing to enter the seminary to become a Methodist minister, in his 60s. And so he was very religious. And he knew that I didn't believe. And I think that he had convinced himself that I was just agnostic. His definition of agnostic and mine are not the same, or were not the same. But that was his thing, is that, I just didn't know. And we had what I would consider to be a don't ask, don't tell policy. He didn't really want to have that conversation with me, so he didn't bring it up. And I didn't bring it up either. So basically what we had decided was that our relationship was more important than a difference of beliefs, and so that we could enjoy each other's company and spend time together without that becoming like the defining thing in our relationship. And I know how much my dad enjoyed his church, and how important those beliefs were to him. But he still made me more important. He believed that I was more important than that, and I really appreciate that. And so I hope that you can get to that point with your family as well.
Well, for now, I've been treating it as a strictly a need-to-know basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As far as close friends that I have that are fairly open-minded, I've made it known to them. But on my side of the family, I just...
Won't you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes?
John in Chicago, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, dudes? How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. How's the weather out in Texas, man? I spent some time in Fort Hood, and I loved it.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's nice today.
Yeah, man, it's pretty nice here in Chicago. But yeah, I called last week, and the conversation got kind of stale. We were talking about DNA and ancient civilizations, and I didn't have any references on me at the time. And the host pretty much thought I was talking crazy, out my wazoo, but there are actually plenty of architects and engineers who have studied some ancient sites and pretty much have concluded that they're much older than what we initially believed, and that a lot more technical engineering had to go on into building the pyramids and other structures than just using ropes and stone tools and copper chisels.
And yet we've already demonstrated that it actually can be built that way. And I'm wondering if these architects and engineers, I mean, it's nothing to cite that you found an architect or an engineer that agrees with some fringe theory. You can find that for everything. There's people with PhDs that support all sort of medical woo. The question is whether or not their claims have actually withstood peer review and are now accepted science. And if they're not, then there's no point in even talking about it until that happens.
Well, I think the whole thing with peer reviews is, I personally think they're kind of biased, because
yeah, they're biased. They're biased towards good evidence and reality. They have strict standards.
And you're biased against the process of peer review because it's not coming up with the stuff you like to hear.
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Won't you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes?
Dominic in Switzerland, how are you?
Oh, hello. Fine, Matt. And how are you guys?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, doing okay.
I don't know. Do you see that on your laptop? I'm actually an atheist too.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a few questions about your way. First of all, I'm very happy I came through. A little bit surprised. I recently started to study actually the Bible because it was never that interesting to me. My parents raised me to believe what I wanted to. I attended the school where we had religion taught, and I did choose the obvious one for me, not to believe in for me unjustified belief system.
Right.
And then recently I watched a Religious from Bill Maher and watched a few of your shows, and then started to read the Bible, and I'm stuck. I can't read the page. It's so ridiculous, this stuff. I mean, seriously, I wanted to see a sense, but on the first 2 pages in Genesis, there are so many logical errors. I mean, first of all, on the 6th day, God created man and woman, and then in the next chapter, suddenly there are no humans, and he made Adam, and
there's a if you talk to Christian apologists, they'll say that there's not a conflict between Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, that it's 2 separate accounts of the same events, one being a literal timeline and one being kind of a here's what happened in a broader sense.